For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Due Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Due Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Due Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and a lot different than good morning. This is a good evening from us here at Due Champions, Due's Hockey Hotline. Brian, welcome in tonight.
Yes.
Doing this tonight rather than tomorrow morning because you had a little problem with at Delta.
At Delta,
So-
just a little bit. I was supposed to be flying back to California, doing our show bright and early tomorrow, and yet the kiosk lines were 20 deep, and the lines to bring your bag were 100 plus people. And then I get up there, and they say, "Hey, by 4 minutes, you missed the window for 45 minutes for the flight. We can't check your bag. You can't bring it through TSA. You can't bring it to the gate. They won't accept it. You have to rebook your flight." So I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic." So Tampa Airport, which is usually very convenient, and I always applaud it, like, "Oh, Tampa's a great airport, you gotta love it." Well, not so much this morning. So alas, I'm flying out again tomorrow. We're gonna try it again all tomorrow morning. Who knows, maybe Sunday, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
listen, we're gonna address this right now because Patrick is already coming out hot. Hey, listen, that's my second team, Pat. We all know your second team. Maybe the Cardinals. I know you had a little
Two-teamer.
friction with the St. Louis
Two-teamer.
Oh,
But in all
I
seriousness,
threw a dagger out about the Cardinals. I know he's probably stewing already.
while you're going through that stuff in the Tampa airport, or probably while you were going to get on your flight and everything like that, the Sabres did something. They finally did something. They hired Jarmo Kekalainen. So I mean that the former GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets helped them sign Johnny Gaudreau a couple of years ago. So any Mitch Marner fans out there, that could be something that it gives Kevin Adams maybe a little insight on bringing somebody like a Mitch Marner or high end talent like that in, or how to bring him in here. More so than the Taylor Hall signings. Maybe it gives a little bit more credence to or clout to coming into this organization.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, listen, Matt, some of the best leaders that I've ever known in my life, in any, worked lots of different jobs and other roles, are the ones that leverage the talent around them to help them get the job done, right? It's not, you can be the ultimate decision maker like a Brandon Bean. We talk about Brandon Bean a lot on this network. I gotta believe Brandon Bean leverages a lot from some of the great scouts that we have, that the Bills have, and some other assistants, right? And nobody's saying Kevin Adams is not a complete fool, right? When it comes to some of the, he really isn't. He's not, but Kevin Adams needed a guy like this to come in with
Mhm.
with a pedigree, with experience in multiple organizations. That's done it also for a smaller market organization that's had some success, right? And he's a guy that could be bold with his decision making. But this is also a little bit of if I'm Kevin Adams, I'm like, I better get my act together, because if I don't, my successor's sitting right to my left or right here. That he probably could take this over. But I like that. That's the kind of pressure I want on Kevin Adams right now,
Mhm.
right? There's none of this. Oh, that good try, Kevin. Your team almost made the playoffs. No, that's over. That's way over. That was the first couple of years
Right.
of the Kevin Adams era. So this is a welcome addition. If you're a Sabre fan, you should be as happy today as you've been in a long time in terms of the front office.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of puts, don't know anything, no speculation or anything like that, but it truly
Hmm.
is, it comes down to it is you're not wrong. Is there
Hmm.
is somebody that has a lot of experience now sitting next to Kevin Adams, and if they start 0-13, or 0-10 or 2-5 and what they could and if Kevin Adams does nothing, they could legitimately bring in Yarmo and make him the interim general manager in that time. So
Hmm.
Kevin Adams has all the pressure in the world on him right now to
Hmm.
make this team a playoff team. I think he's got to know in the back of his mind or in his heart of hearts that this is it. If I don't make the playoffs, I'm done here in Buffalo. I don't think I have another chance.
Yep.
So I mean, we'll definitely see how that turns out. But I really do like the Yarmo signing, I guess
Pickalainen.
signing. Yeah,
Yep.
I.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I mean, he was with the Blue Jackets for 10 years. They had 5 playoff appearances. They were 410, 362, 97. Pretty good. 2 playoff series wins. Matt, he's also he's not shy about making trades. Now, it doesn't always mean having an aggressive GM means you're going to do the best move, right? We learned that with Tim Murray here. He was a very aggressive general manager, and I thought Tim Murray would be better now than he was when we needed an architect when we first got Eichel, right? We didn't need a GM that was a little reckless with trading draft picks and other things. You know what I mean? Like we had in my mind, we had that reverse. Like we need a Tim Murray type right now, and that's what Kekalainen feels like he could do. He made a trade for a Termi Panarin, brought him to
mhm.
Columbus. Now he made some other moves. He drafted PLD over. A lot of people thought that he was going to take his countryman, Pujärvi. Remember, Pujärvi was a Finn. He was very highly regarded. He took PLD. That was the better pick. PLD didn't have an amazing career. He wanted out of Columbus, but it was the right pick, right? He also uh, had a big play in getting Johnny Gaudreau over to
Mhm.
Columbus, which was a big move at the time. And he traded PLD for Patrick Laine, so you could see this guy makes big boy moves, as we call it, right? These are the
Right.
things
He's
that
not
we feel
afraid
like
to,
moves.
he's not afraid to
Mhm.
actually make those type of moves. So, I
Yes.
mean, and that's why I said that kind of gives a little bit of hope to all those Mitch Marner fans out there that he
Hmm.
might come to Buffalo. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't necessarily have to be a Mitch Marner. There's a lot of other players out there, Sam Bennett out
Hmm.
there, if he makes it
Hmm.
free agency. But I don't think a player like that is worth, I don't think Sam Bennett's worth $10 million. I'm sorry. I don't. I really don't. And I think that's, I don't want to lead into this right yet
Hmm.
because I know we have other
Yeah.
stuff to talk about, but
Sure. No.
it kind of does, because it kind of does go along with it because Florida only has to sign him to like 7, 8 million, 7.5
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
be up to that $10 million. And I know you wanted to kind of go off a little bit on these tax ramifications of
Oh,
the
we will.
NHL,
Yes.
but
Yes.
and we'll get that. We'll get to that point. But I mean,
Yes.
again, like you literally have a Canadian team that's one of the highest brackets of tax, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Florida Panthers, who have no tax, both
Yep.
going back to back in Stanley Cup Finals. So I mean, it's really tough to what is the answer there, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of balance now that Eric Stahl, Jarmo Kekalainen, and Kevin Adams are all going to have to work out, and they're going to have to figure
Mm-hmm.
that out for this team, along with draft picks, along with July 1st free agency, along with
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I mean, we'll definitely see what they got coming.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny about Mitch Marner. He would actually pay less tax in Buffalo than he would in
Mm-hmm.
Toronto. So, and listen, Ed, he is from Markham, Canada. From Ontario. Don't know if he still wants to stay close to home. Does he want to stay in the same division and play against Toronto in that capacity? I feel like sometimes these guys like Mitch Marner, they want a full change. Maybe he's thinking Los Angeles comes to mind. I know,
Mm-hmm.
they're always an aggressive team. There's always Vegas. I mean, it's almost like now, like the no tax six, as I call them, right? The six markets, they almost get like first dibs. Like, but there's two things going on. They have chances to get him, Matt, but they're also being used, I believe, as leverage by some of these agents that put stuff
Mm-hmm.
out to some of these writers to say, "Hey, Mitch, you know what? Let's put out that Vegas is interested in you." Right? Let's get some of these
Mm-hmm.
other GMs to say, "Oh man, I don't want Vegas to come in and sign him and make." Now Vegas is a very aggressive franchise, we know, right? But what if they're really looking at Detroit, Buffalo, Carolina, right? And they're looking at these teams and they want to put that buzz out there. That happens a lot. So that's something that
Mm-hmm.
fans got to understand. You're going to hear a lot of stuff between now and then. But
And I
you brought the best point though. Being in for Mitch Marner is the very least of what we want to see from this organization.
that's it. That's truly it.
Hmm.
And that's all I've wanted is, be one of those final teams. If he doesn't end up picking you, at least show that,
Hmm.
you're part of that discussion.
Hmm.
I think it was, I can't remember who it was this morning, but I also saw the Sabres are part of part of the ones giving calls on Marco Rossi.
Hmm.
Perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
Not against that move. I mean, a 23-year-old kid that I thought should have been drafted over Jack Quinn anyways. But
Hmm.
what do
Absolutely.
I know?
And just to circle back to the Sabres on this and why this was such an important hire, it just gives our front office some more credibility. And now, does it
Mm-hmm.
mean we have the greatest organization in the league? Absolutely not, right? There's still work to be done. And I know the writer that, if you're not blocked by him, you're not a Sabre fan, Mike Harrington, even suggested that. And listen, say what you want of Mike Harrington. He's good at what he does. There's some good
Mm-hmm.
things about Mike Harrington. He asks tough questions.
Yeah, I mean,
But
he's good at poking and prodding, and getting the right
yes, he
story,
is.
and
Yes, he is.
getting a good story,
And he's found.
whether it's
That's what
hated or not.
But doesn't that frustrate you? He's so good that he's good, but if he was just more approachable, I think he'd be so popular. But yet he's the way he is with us fans, even if you just say something
Mm-hmm.
normal, you just bite a little bit back. He blocks you. And to me, that's unbelievable. Like I can't imagine. But having said that, he said the Sabres may not be done adding to their front office. So it's good to see that Pagula might have maybe there's a pulse there, right? We're seeing a pulse with the Sabres organization, and it gives us cautious
Yeah.
optimism, at least, Matt, that maybe we're trending in the right direction. And then to bring this guy in with a fresh set of eyes, right? A guy that has no ties to Consta Huselius. He has no ties to Jack Quinn, right? He doesn't have any emotional attachment to any of these picks, and he could go in and tell Kevin, "Hey, Kev, how about players XY for ZX?" And maybe Kevin like, I never thought about that before. Maybe he has connections with other organizations. Let's give them a call. Maybe he's got a relationship with another GM, right? In another capacity because he's worked there. Now they have some credibility when they go to the table. And then who knows? And maybe that's exactly what Kevin needs, where he's good at some other things. And maybe,
Mm-hmm.
you know, our new guy here, Kekalainen comes in and he gives us some extra juice in those other or in those other. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
Well, I mean, and that's the main thing is what we've been asking for, you and I both, is either the change from Kevin Adams, moving him up into that president of hockey ops, or bringing in somebody to help him along the way to basically be another voice in that room. And if Mike Harrington's reports are correct that they're not done adding, but if they are done, and it's just Eric Stahl and now Jarmo Kekalainen, you have a very good former GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets who put together multiple playoff teams. And then you also have, Eric Stahl, who Kevin Adams trusts. And he was like his first move when he took over the job for the Sabres. So, I mean, it's these guys that I think feels that he can lean on a little bit more for things other than, Lindy's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around since, forever playing. And then, but there's some things that he just doesn't know. Like he might have all the connections in the world, but he just might not know, what it might take to get X player and what Y and Z you have to move off your team or, vice versa, so, I mean, it's nice to have those other voices in the room. And I'm super excited that they did add that. I'm excited about Harrington's continued coverage of that and saying that they may not be done. So, who knows at this point, but I mean, time will tell. We got about what, 24 days until the draft.
Yeah, can you believe it? We're almost there. I mean, we are inching closer to the NHL draft, which will be in my backyard, Los Angeles. So I'm looking forward to that. And again,
if you ever get home.
if I ever get home, I may not be able to make it. So who knows at this point? Thank you, Delta. I'm telling you, I'm trying to lobby for Delta to give us some frequent flyer miles payable to do champions, so we could send some of our guys around the country, right? Do some trips to Western Canada or Bills road games. But listen, it's just he's had some good draft success too, Kekalainen. I mean, let's not forget, I mean, he drafted Jason Spezza in Ottawa. He also got Hall of Famer Marian Hossa. He got Martin Havlat, who's, for those youngins that don't know who Martin Havlat is, very, very good player. He oversaw drafts with the Blues where they got David Perron, Eric Johnson, Peter Angelo, Lars Eller, TJ Oshie. I mean, so that's what I mean. He's been with multiple organizations. By the way, he's the first European general manager ever. I never do that. So you don't see too many of those, right? So, he's just a very respected guy. And the other thing is just kind of looking around and seeing other Sabres content creators' opinions. I mean, even Reve and Peters, who could be very critical of our organization, and they like it as well. So it's just good to see, and other teams, I've seen other fans say that's a nice hire. So it's just good to hear that, right? It's just doesn't mean it's going to definitely work and it's going to, flip the Sabres around and become a great team, but it's just, again, excellent, very solid step in the right direction.
Let me ask you a question then. With all these things that Kevin Adams has done right now, bringing in Jarmo and bringing in Eric Stahl and potentially other moves. If the Sabres make the playoffs, is it does he get the credit for it now?
Yes, because I will respect Kevin Adams more if he leverages the talent in the room, right? And even if he said that I did. But ultimately he's going to have final say, right? I'm sure he's going to have power. To me, I'll respect Kevin Adams more if you do that. It circles back to what we said earlier, right? I've worked with great leaders where they leverage the talent that's in the room and they help bring that out and harness that for the benefit of the whole organization, right? Those are the best architects to me. So,
and I'm in agreement with you because in anything like in my sales career or anything like that, if you don't know the answer, you don't make something up. You go to the expert in that and go find the answer. And that's why I truly think that this is a great thing that Kevin Adams was able to take his ego and set it aside for a second. Not that he's got a big one or anything like that, but set that aside and bring in Eric Stahl, bring in Jarmo, and potentially have other moves coming for the front office to help get this team back on track. Because who knows if this works out, who's to say Yarmo isn't the next general manager of the Buffalo Sabres and Kevin Adams moves up into the hockey ops?
Mm-hmm. You know, the other thing is, so you're right. Now, it still remains to be seen. Will Kevin Adams ultimately listen to the new talent in the room? Is he going to listen to an Eric Stahl? Is, you know, when push comes to shove, if Kekalainen and his and other staff provides a lot of feedback that maybe, let's say, total hypothetical, Matt, a JJ Paterka trade's on the table, right? And Kevin Adams is just in his heart, he just can't move off of Paterka. Is he going to listen to the room? And if there's a consensus, is Kevin ultimately going to make that decision?
I think
You
it's
know,
got to. I think it's got to depend on the. I think just saying a Paterka trade's on the table. I think it's got to be. I think it's got to, like, you'd have to know more parameters to be, to be a little bit critical, because you can't just be like, oh, a JJ Paterka trade's on the table, and you're going to bring in bring back an Eric Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Right. You're right. Yes, that's true.
Because JJ Paterka's on his way to be being one of the top probably 50 players in the NHL.
It's probably one of those situations, Matt. If the Sabres make the playoffs next year, even if Kevin Adams didn't lean on that advice that much, he's still going to get credit for it. If they lose,
absolutely.
If they lose and he leaned on all his advice, he's going to get blamed for it. So it's just ultimately it's what you do, right? When you're the top guy like that. It's like if you're a president of anything, right? You're going to take the bullets. So that's just this is professional sports, right? There's only 8,100 people that have ever played hockey since 1917. That's it, just one shift. Think about the GMs. Like, this is a rare field you're in. You are the top of the top. There's, it's results based, and you have to do it fast, and you have, there's no apologies. I mean, it's just,
which is why I'm so surprised that's why I'm so surprised Kevin Adams is still here going into year 6 of this, because I mean, usually general managers get 3, maybe 4 years, and the 5th year was kind of pushing it, because we understood, oh, you missed the playoffs 91 points in 2022 or 2023 or whatever it was, and then your next year you had all the injuries. Okay, we'll give you 1 more year. I get it. But then you come out and you're having trouble, scoring goals. You're having trouble with the power play, and you don't make any changes whatsoever. You go on a 13-game losing streak, and he should have been fired after that. The second he did not make any changes after that, during those 13 games, it was done for me for that. Now I'm willing to give the Sabres a chance. Sill, I put out the Sill meme today. Every time I think I'm done, they pull me back in.
Yep, love it.
And that's kind of what it is. It kind of feels like a little bit with the Sabres here, because every time they do something, it's like, okay, that was a smart move. I'm a little bit more interested. So I feel like this is a great thing for them, and that's the kind of where I'm sitting with that. So
Yep. But I think this is Pagula's way of saying, okay, I extended Kevin Adams before. Probably doesn't want to. He's probably tired of spending money on guys that aren't here. Sabres aren't generating a ton of money like they usually have with their attendance figures and whatnot. But this is his way of hiring a guy like Kekalainen to say, hey, just be wary, Kevin. You mess up, I'm just promoting him, the GM, right away. And Kekalainen is probably thinking, if Kevin Adams does well and the Sabres make the playoffs, maybe Kekalainen can get a job somewhere else. Maybe this gets eyeballs on him, and they'll say, maybe I want to hire that guy for my organization. So for him, it's, I think he's looking at it from 2 angles, right? And for Kevin Adams, it's, put up or shut up time for him now. Otherwise, he could be out very quickly. So I just hope that's what the motivation is too.
Yeah, me too, because it's got to be tough as a NHL GM, going in only having so much time. But Kevin Adams, you've had 5 years. You're going into year 6. You're getting all the leash in the world by allowing you to bring in your friend Eric Stahl, Jarmo Kekalainen, your choice for a senior advisor. Because we heard it today that it was Kevin Adams' choice to bring this person in. So not only have you, if it doesn't work, which is completely plausible, because if you don't fix the stuff on the ice, like you and I were talking on the phone earlier, if you don't fix the stuff on the ice, the stuff in the general manager's office isn't going to make a difference.
Yep, that's exactly right. So it just makes this off season juicier, right? But it's just nice to know we have someone in the room like Kekalainen. Again, the Blue Jackets picks. I mean, he picked Werenski, Marchenko, Ken Johnson, Adam Fantilli. Look at the names I'm naming right now. Like, this is a guy that in 3 organizations has picked several excellent players. Now, some of these guys were higher picks, they're no-brainers. We get that, right? But still, they still made excellent picks. I like the way he has constructed Columbus. And again, Columbus is not a market with palm trees and taxes, Matt. Right? I mean, the last time I checked, I don't think Columbus has palm trees. So
No, they do not. They absolutely do not. But I mean, he was the one to draft Korpisalo, correct?
I believe so. I'd have to look that up. Yeah.
I mean, yes, he let Bobrovsky walk away, but that was at a time when it was like, I understood what he wanted. He signed with Florida for 7 years, whatever. But look at his first year or two in Florida weren't that great either for Bobrovsky before, yes, they made the playoffs. Yes, he played well in the regular season, but he did not. He looked like the same goaltender that was in Columbus and didn't, so that was a right choice. He knew when to move off of a player. And fortunately for Florida, it kind of worked out with Bobrovsky, but he still gives up those dumb goals every once in a while too, that Bobrovsky's known to give up. So, I mean, we're sitting here talking Yarmo to death, but I'm excited for this move. I really am. I think this is I saw somebody on Twitter today put it in there that it's not a needle mover. It might not be a needle mover, but it does get the needle starting to go, right? So, I mean, it kind of gets that, you're idling now. Before the car was shut off, now you're idling. Now let's make a couple moves and you can rev that RPM up a little bit, So we'll see what happens.
It's not that sexy, quote, sexy move that, if we brought in, senior advisor was hired today, Michael Pekka. What would our fan base be thinking about? Right? Wow. That's, Michael Pekka, Sabre legend. I love Mike Pekka. So I wish he was in our organization. Or what if we hired Brendan Shanahan? Brendan Shanahan, say what you want about the Leafs. They did take Florida 7 tough games this year. It's not looking so bad after Florida dismantled Carolina and they dismantled Tampa Bay. So if you think about it, maybe Toronto's better off than they realized, right? They, they're just running into the Florida Panthers. And Matt, is it amazing? 3 years ago, we were 1 point behind Florida. And Sergei Bobrovsky was considered an albatross of a contract, $10 million. Oh, I remember we were talking among some of the fans that the Sabres should sign him and Florida should eat half the money. It's and now Sergei Bobrovsky, ever since that year, Florida may be on their way to a dynasty. It's amazing how fast things can change in sports, right? It's so,
and there's no end in sight for this team, because if you go look at their salary cap, they got some cap money that they can spend, and and they have a lot of their big guys signed. So kudos to them.
Yep, but I got to take a shot at the NHL. I mean, the Stanley Cup Finals start in 2027. I mean, when are they going to get this thing started? Next Wednesday? I mean, the breaks that they have in some of these games are just. Even the NBA has tightened that up a little bit. The NBA used to be notorious for that. Remember, they used to take days and days in between games. Now they're going every other night.
I get it though. Yeah. Not necessarily the NBA. I didn't understand the way that they set things, or in one series, Eastern Conference would be going, and then that would be Game 7 of an Eastern Conference game, where they're also playing Game 1 of a Western Conference series, and it's what are we doing here?
That's right.
But with the NHL, I understand why it's next week, is because they had to allot the time for if something was to go to a Game 6 or a 7, so that it's done. They don't have to move anything, but now both series ended in 5, right?
Yep.
So I mean, it went a little less than they might have been expecting, but now it's happening next Wednesday and on June 4th. So
I just wish they were
super
starting
excited for
Sunday.
that.
I just wish
So
they
do
were
I.
starting Sunday
So do I.
because
So do
you
I.
won't have Knicks now. If the Knicks win, there won't be Game 7 Sunday because they're playing Saturday night. So that would have been a perfect slot, I think, to start the Stanley Cup right on that Sunday. Both teams would have had 3 or 4 days off. That's good, right? But I know the travel for the Stanley Cup is a thing with the media and all that. But it's the same with the NBA Finals. I mean, NBA Finals is even more international than NHL. I mean, they get coverage from everywhere around the world. So. I do get it, but anyway, what's your take on this series, Matt? I mean, Edmonton, Florida. I mean, here we go, second straight year.
I mean,
What?
second straight
What?
year.
When is the last time that happened in the NHL? To come to think of it, when is the
I'd
last
have to. I'd
time?
have to go back and. I'd have to go
Yeah,
back and look.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if anybody's in the chat, but if there's anybody that knows, is there the last time that we had a repeat final? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of those old Islander teams or ones that made 4 straight cups or the Oilers. I mean, I'm sure we had something way back, but I'm talking like in recent, like last 30 years. Like,
Well, even Pittsburgh, it was Minnesota North Stars and then Chicago Blackhawks, and then
yeah.
So I mean, it's and you don't see a lot of that very often where teams go back to back. This is unheard of. The last 6 years have been Tampa Bay and then Florida. But I'm excited for this series. I'm a little, I'll take the thing from Michael Scott. I might not be superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. I cannot believe Connor McDavid touched that trophy.
I was shocked.
I could not believe that.
Considering how he is, he's pretty wound tight. He's a very intense guy. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything. I'm just saying that, he's just built a little different than most superstars. But yeah, that was I have your answer, by the way.
Okay.
2008, 2009, we had Detroit, Pittsburgh back to back.
Yep.
That was the last time, and I forgot that was back to back, but that is the last
and it
time
was
that.
We'll definitely see if it repeats itself because one year Detroit won and then the next year Pittsburgh won, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
That is
so we'll definitely
correct.
see if history repeats itself. Almost 16 years later. So but I'm super excited for the Stanley Cup series. You got two of the best players in the world in Draisaitl and McDavid on one side. You got the biggest pest on the other side in Marchand. As much as we hate him as Sabres fans, he's that type of guy that you want on your team. You got Sam Reinhart, you got Alex Barkov, you got Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, you got Bobrovsky and net. The way that Stuart Skinner's been playing, he's been playing lights out himself. I mean, it's just this series could go 7 again. I mean, it's that close between the two best teams.
Yep. By the way, Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, legitimately great move by the Sabres. He is a guy that covered the Devils that I actually know personally and has always been very critical of the Sabres over the years. So it's just another, and I'm sorry that I just saw that and it kind of caught my attention just to see another national writer give some kudos for this move. I'm just trying to tell Sabre fans, hey, be excited today. Like this is not some, for this organization, it's been tough to get excited lately. So it's just nice to hear that. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to ask you a question related to that. Do you think that we'll start to see like staff moves now?
Yes.
Now that Yarmo is in place, and along with that, what would you do for a Stu Barnes signing here to be on your staff?
Stu Barnes didn't he just leave his post?
That's why I'm asking. Why I'm asking.
Listen, I say bring him back and want to welcome Real Deal. Always good to see you here. Just want to say hello to you. It's still the best avatar here. I love it. Got to get my dose of Rich Honorette every day. So, but yeah, that's It would be great to see. First move, I would say, let Lindy Cameron Ruff pick his staff, please.
Please,
Let
please.
him decide if he wants Seth Appert. Let him decide if he wants to bring somebody else in to help the power play. Give him the tools that he needs to succeed. So, um, but yeah, so that's absolutely true. But just to touch on the Stanley Cup, Matt, to you, I'm excited. There's two contrasting styles. You got Barkov's starting to remind me of Patrice Bergeron. He's going into that bucket of just great
Mhm.
defensive forwards that just do all the little things that may not show up on the stat sheet. But I'll tell you what, that guy is such a great player. He doesn't get the notoriety. He doesn't put up the numbers. But Bobrovsky, turned out to be a Hall of Fame goalie. But the way that Skinner, the goalie, not Jeff Skinner, but the guy at Edmonton.
Stuart Skinner, yeah.
That's another the one thing that worries me about this long break is I hope it doesn't throw off his mojo. He's been playing so well. Sometimes those long breaks can hurt you when he's in such a groove. But at least he's been through this last year. They almost beat him last year. What say you about the Stanley Cup as we get into next week? You have any thoughts, predictions, anything
I
coming
honestly
at
think
you?
Edmonton. I think Edmonton wins it this year. I think I think last year Connor had to be there.
Mhm.
To see it. I understand it was kind of Florida had been there the year before, and they were in the same type of circumstance. Not saying Edmonton's going to go 3 years in a row now, making it or anything like that, but I mean,
Mhm.
how do you stop either one of these teams? Like for
Yeah.
to sit back and be one of these head coaches and having to
Mhm.
tell these guys, hey, here's how you stop Connor McDavid. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, right.
You, Matt, I'll be honest. There's part of me that enjoys Canada not winning the Stanley Cup. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I love Canada's passion for hockey. I will never take that away from them. But there's something as a USA hockey fan that I enjoy it. But I also love watching Connor McDavid play hockey. Uh, it's time for Connor McDavid to win the Stanley Cup. It's
It
time for
is.
the
No,
Edmonton.
absolutely it
It's
is.
I want him to be the face of the league. I think this is Gretzky, folks. I watched Gretzky in his prime. You and I both did. I'm 51. Gretzky was incredible. Again, it was a
Mhm.
different game. This is Wayne Gretzky, folks. It's time for Connor McDavid. And you saw those clips of him last year. Remember in the locker room, you see how much this guy wants it. You just see it, and
Mhm.
I respect that so much out of him. So Real Deal's a Canada fan. He goes, "Go Canada, go!" So Real Deal, I want to see your prediction on this series. I'm going Edmonton in. I wanted to go 6, but it's going to be in Florida, right? Because Edmonton has the home ice this time. I'm gonna go 7, but again, would I be surprised if Florida wins? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm about 60% certain. But if you get to a game 7, you say take the best players. I mean, they didn't get it done last year, but I think this year, I think we also Real Deal agrees. Got Oil in 7.
I'll I
So
have
how
the
about you?
Oilers. I have the Oilers in 5, and I'm going to be honest with you.
Ooh.
I'm going to be honest with you. I really do think that Connor McDavid is going to be playing with another chip on his shoulder
Hmm.
because because of the win that he had for Team Canada
Hmm.
in the
Yep.
Four Nations. I mean, speaking of golden goals, let's talk about the one that just the one of the Buffalo Sabres just scored. How did you
Um,
enjoy that? How did you enjoy seeing Tage Thompson score the golden goal
oh
to
yes,
win
yes,
that for the
yes.
first
For
time
some
in 92 years?
That was great. Got some love on the Pat McAfee show. It was nice to see them talk about that a little bit too. Great for Tage. Again, just like to see that he's involved in the off season and getting that big win for the USA. So great stuff. I mean, it was definitely great to see. Still should have been on the USA team in the Frozen Nation, the Frozen Four, or what
Absolutely.
the butt will digress, but next time don't make that mistake. Team USA, put Tage Thompson on that roster.
Yeah, let's
So
put slow ass Brock Nelson on the team rather than Tage Thompson.
yeah, yep. So that was great. And just about the cup, I hope it goes 7. I want 7 games. I like the drama. I want that stage. Uh, it can only help grow the game of hockey itself. I mean, but we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It should be very, very interesting. And then we get to our season, the off season. So,
The offseason. I'm so
uh,
excited for the offseason. I'm still
get have a little
excited
more
for the
juice.
draft and then free agency because I
Hmm.
want to see what's going to happen, for the Sabres, like
Hmm.
specifically. Because it's like, are they or aren't they going to be involved on a Mitch Marner? Are they or aren't they going to be involved on a Sam Bennett? Are they or aren't they going to be involved on any one of these goaltenders that can come in and potentially compete with UPL and maybe keep Levi down in the minors for
Hmm.
another year, to get him that season, continue to season him, or is Levi coming up and going to take over for
Hmm.
UPL and UPL becomes tradable? Like, what are the things that you can do?
Yep.
So I'm super excited
Hmm.
for the off season. I
Good.
know we're going to go through a lot of stuff here. Um, uh,
Absolutely. Well,
I know you have some draft crushes that we're going to get to next Saturday
yes,
on that.
I'm gonna tease that. I have my first draft crush, and I'm just gonna say it's not Porter Martone because I don't think he'll last to us in our pick. But if the Levi one more year in Rochester, yeah. By the way, I was a little disappointed. Rochester did not go further in the Calder. Listen, this circles back to our new organization, right?
Mhm.
And I don't want the Buffalo Sabres to be shot. If you have an opportunity to get an excellent goaltender, and I know this is probably asking a lot, I'm not even sure who this guy is, right? But if there was ever a chance to get a top goaltender, I'm not going to be shy if I have to give up Devin Levi to do it because I still don't know what Devin Levi is going to be at the next level, right? I think he could be really great, Matt, right? Um,
All I'm going to
but
say that
I,
I'm going to say something to
have,
this
I have
point right now.
hesitation.
I
Mhm.
know I'm going to say something to this point right now. I don't think I would even trade Devin Levi right now for Connor Hellebuck after the way he played for the Jets in the playoffs. I think if you don't fix,
Yeah.
I think with his contract and the ability for Levi having the smaller contract and
Mhm.
Hellebuck, you need to fix some of the back end of the defense. I think that's a recipe for disaster there. So I don't think I would go. I think I would go out and rather pick up somebody to maybe take over UPL and continue, Levi's development in the minors.
Absolutely. And I'm just typing this to Real Deal. In terms of development, I hope our new senior advisor, who has been involved in a lot of drafts, could also help with a problem that the Sabres have had. And this comes to what Real Deal's point is: sick of guys rushing to the show. And I
Mm-hmm.
hope that our new senior advisors get help with developing these players properly in terms of timelines. And I'm talking about Consta Huselius. I'm talking about some of the other guys we have in our system that we haven't even talked about yet that I'm very excited about. Noah Osland, right? These kind of guys. Like, what are we doing with these guys? But don't rush them, but also bring them in at the right time and in the right situations. So that's going to be paramount to the success of this team going forward. And you also want to keep their status high if you ever want to move them to get the right players in this organization. There's so many decisions with this team,
Yeah.
and there's so many prospects. There's so many different options at their disposal in their system. But the problem is there's a lot of other teams that have that as well. So you got to find the right teams to make the right trades with.
So here's the other thing, though, too. I don't know if you
Hmm.
caught the video or anything with Brian Duff and
Hmm.
Marty and Darren Dreger, but earlier he
Okay.
was saying that JJ Paterka's name is out there, whether that's a real thing or not.
Hmm.
It was at the deadline. At least teams were calling. On top of that, he was saying, Bowen Byram, it may be a long summer with him, whether it's a move for him or whether it's a bridge deal. He said
Hmm.
he thinks that Bowen Byram's best option might be the bridge deal and go right to free agency. Usher him into free agency. So we'll definitely see. But that's like we always talk about with these bridge deals is do a bridge deal with somebody like a Bowen Byram. If he doesn't work out, let him walk. If he doesn't work out, trade him. You have an asset there that I'm sure somebody would take another chance on because it's the Buffalo Sabres. Let's get them in here to our guys and our training staff and our coaching and try and fix him with our staff. So I mean, it just it's a double-edged sword, but those are the two names that I wanted to throw out there from Drager real quick. At this point, I'm not trading JJ Peterka short of giving me a Brady or Matthew Tkachuk, a top.
Yes, I would say, or just give me a absolute top 6 forward, right? I need someone in here to supplant him because it becomes a money situation too, Matt, because we're going to have to pay some other players too down the line. Alex Tuck is the guy you got to think about next year, right? You got to think about what are you going to pay him. Right. And then you have
I think they get him done this summer. I really do.
That's and I'm curious. I think his number will probably be about 7.5 or 8. That's what I feel he'll get going forward. I feel like Alex Tuck will pull a Josh Allen. And what I mean is, pay me well, but let's find a sweet spot that'll help the team and me, and pay me good enough. So I feel like that would happen. The one team I keep looking at, Matt, and I'll just throw one out here for you. Okay. This team has, by the way, Puckpedia has now updated their numbers for 2025, 2026. So you could see how much cap room teams have. This team has 4.9 million of cap space. They only have 16 to 23 players signed next year. The Dallas Stars.
Jeez.
And, by the way, Jason Robertson has one more year at 7.75 million, does not have a trade clause, right? Why not give them a call and say, listen, we know you're having some cap issues, right? The Wyatt Johnston deal kicks in now at $8 million. The Thomas Harley's got to get
Ottinger
paid.
Deal.
Yep, they're going to have to get Ottinger. They're going to have to get Harley paid. Give them a call. We have the players. It doesn't even have to be a Byram or even a Peterka, right? Who's to say we don't make a big play for Jason Robertson, following, let's say, pick 9, maybe.
I'm not gonna lie though. Not to interrupt you, but I'm not gonna lie. I'd hate to see a Jack Quinn go play with Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn and flourish because because it's the Dallas Star, just because it's a Dallas Stars, it would.
Yeah.
I think my brain would malfunction. More than it has with this team already. So.
Yeah, and that's Real Deal said JJ stays.
Mm-hmm.
My gut says no. And I like him. I'm not saying I don't like JJ Peterka, Matt. I guess my thought is Peterka is a little bit of a streaky player, right? And it all depends what we do. Like, I have to see. Like, if we get a Mitch Marner, I'm good with giving up JJ Peterka at that point because I got Marner, Thompson, Tuck, and I got some other guys there. Well, what's going on? What happened?
Nothing. No. I'm just laughing because I think I was going to make a joke about Real Deal Prime being Kevin Adams' burner and how much he likes all these guys.
Maybe it is. I wish it was. And say, come on the show.
In all seriousness, though, I agree. I think JJ Peterka stays. I think Quinn is the one that's the odd man out. I heard that the other day too, that they're looking at the Quinn market as well. So I think that they really like JJ Peterka. I do think he's going to be a top 50 player in the NHL next year. And I don't think you can get rid of a guy like that that's going to play minutes on your second line or on your first line. If with a Tage Thompson and a Mitch Marner, or a Josh Norris and a Mitch Marner, or a Tage Thompson and Josh Norris, or any combination of that. Any combination of that. So I mean, and Real Deal Prime said it better. You can't teach to snipe. You can't teach a snipe.
Yes,
you can't. And the way that JJ Peterka shoots that puck is just deadly when he's on.
Yes.
So hopefully he can continue his development with the Sabres. And, I think he could, if they put him with the right players, if you put him with a Tage Thompson and a Mitch Marner, or Josh Norris and a Mitch Marner, or anything like that, or I think he could be upwards of a 40, 50 goal scorer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the thing. Like, the other thing with the Sabres is, this cap room we have $23 million in cap space. We also have to bring 7 players in, right? You're like, oh, 23 million, that's a lot. But okay, how much you paying Ryan McLeod? I'd say he's a keep. Are you giving him 5 years? You giving him 6? Like, how long do we want to keep Ryan McLeod in a Sabre uniform? Do you want to?
Honestly, I'd give him a 3-year bridge deal. A lot of these guys that are RFAs, I'd give them that tender and see if you can't work out a bridge deal with them.
Yeah. Yep. So give him 5, maybe 5.5.
I think 3. I think 3. I mean,
3?
unless you're going 5 for we're talking for Ryan McLeod, right?
Yeah, he had McLeod last year.
He had a good year.
I mean,
he had
53 points, 20 goals, 33 assists. He may get 4.5. I think it's possible. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
I could live with it, because you know how I pay for that? I buy out Matthias Samuelsson.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Done. That's a trade-off. So then, okay, let's say that cancels each other out, right? You still got to pay Peterka. How much you giving Peterka? How many years? How many years you go?
I think you got to go. I think you got to go maximum right now. I think you got to go maximum 3. I don't think you can go
3.
any more than that.
You want to go?
I
still want to do that bridge as well. I don't want them to go 8 years on JJ Peterka.
Would I be mad? Would I be mad if they did, because they can lock him up at, and give him the Dylan Cousins contract, 8 years, $7 million a year? Sure, fine. I'm fine with that, or 6.5, or so it's in there, because the way that he projects, being one of those top players. Sure, if he's a 40, 50 goal scorer, 80 points, I'm not going to complain at $7 million a year for the next 8 years. But you also don't want to have a situation where, it's you give him a 3-year deal, and no way.
I think that's going to be higher, real. I would love for you to be right.
So
this is Kevin.
So would I.
And
so
I'm like, yes, I hope you're right. But and it could be. Listen, it's the length, and the amount of space we have is good, but it could dry up very quickly, right? We also have another interesting RFA that we haven't really talked about. Devin Levi is an RFA. Now, we know Devin Levi's been coveted by like Montreal. We've heard some, Montreal fans really want him. And I'm sure Devin Levi's getting a little bit antsy to get to the NHL at this point. He is 23, right? And I do agree with what Real said. You don't want to rush these guys. And I do think he's correct. But we're getting to the point with Levi. I think it's either put up or shut up time. We're getting close. Like, he's got to at least be able to function as a 25, 30 game goaltender in this league, minimum, right? And be consistent. But what do you do for him? Does he bet on himself and go year to year? Or does he say, give me 3? I don't see him locking in for 3 years. I don't see it.
The way that I'm looking at it for the Buffalo Sabres, for Devin Levi, is I think that they need to sign him for a 2 or 3 year deal. I think that the reason why I think that it needs to be another year in Rochester, and this is only my opinion, is because you cannot bring him up into this team the way it sits right now if you make no other moves and then go along and you have the same year as last year. That's not going to help his development. That's literally going to stunt his development, and it's going to kill the confidence that he does have.
3.25 for Levi, might be a little high. I'm hoping if I'm going to get him for 1 year, if he wants 3.25, then I need a 2 year deal of 3. I would love to see that, but I don't know if he's going to take that. This is going to, I think the Levi one is going to be one of the more intriguing moves that we're going to see this offseason in terms of
Mhm.
how they handle. Because, let's be honest, Levi, it's a big name in our organization. We traded Sam Reinhart for him, right? But I can't worry about that. I got to worry about, is he ready? Like you said, right? Is he
Mhm.
ready? I can't worry about, I have to appease the fans. No. And that's why, again, I like the structure we have in the organization where maybe they'll say, hey, Kevin, this is what we should do, right? This is how it's going to be. So that's going to be interesting. And then, of course, Bowman Byram. I think Bowman Byram's gone. I'm 90% sure
I
he's not starting next year.
100%, 100%. I
Hmm.
think that they're going to trade him. I
Yeah.
am. I shouldn't say 100%. My gut is telling me like 99% that he's
Yeah.
not here. Just leaving
Yes.
that 1% just in case, the
Yep.
the Jim Carrey we always, so that you tell me
Hmm.
there's a chance. But
Yep.
no, in all seriousness though, I think Bowen Byram's gone. I think that
Hmm.
he can't be, looking up from that second pairing defenseman, third pairing defense and see ahead of him Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin. I truly can't. I
Hmm.
don't think there's any way that he can, see that those pairings, and number one, not want to be a part of them. Number two, not want to be part of a power play. Number
Yep.
three, sit here and how else am I going to get paid?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be, there's so many interesting moves to make. And I agree. I do feel this in my gut too. I think
Mm-hmm.
Levi's going to be fine in the NHL. I do. But again, we've seen goalies. I mean, for any old Saber fan, Mika Norinen, dude, must I say it
Mm-hmm.
again, folks? Mika Norinen was a two-time prospect of the year in the minor leagues for goalies. He was
But
a
he
very
the last
highly
he
regarded.
was the last Saber goalie to score a goal,
That is
or
true.
be credited with a goal, I should say, not
Hmm.
necessarily score it, but
Okay. Yep. 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 And this is something else too. Real deals, kind of some great stuff. This right here is still the number one problem with this team. Defensive structure. I agree. Lindy hinted at it in his end of the year press conference about assignments, not being there in time, being in the wrong places. Like
mm-hmm.
those are the things that this team needs to clean up more than anything else. And we got to get those players in our organization that will give this team the skill set to do that. So, and that, again, that's a
And
little
that's
tease
more
of
what I
the
was
draft
saying, and
process.
that was more what I was saying is,
Hmm.
you can't go into another year with making no changes to the team and
Yeah.
expect, Devin Levi to get you over the hump. Maybe he makes a couple extra saves a game, but there, with the defense is still not playing well, you can't subject him to that.
Yep. Absolutely. So, but we'll see what they do in the offseason in terms of free agency. It's just like if you bring in Mitch Marner, I just don't know if I see them keeping JJ Paterka. I just the amount of money you'll have to pay. Imagine 14 and another 7, that's 21 million for two forwards.
I don't think Marner's going to get 14. I think he's going to get 12.
Yeah, or 11 from the wonderful no tax 6.
Yeah. Yeah, those
I
teams
mean,
need to let other teams play in the
yeah.
sandbox here. So,
Yep. Well,
um,
listen, just to kind of clear up the whole no tax thing, right? I see there's a lot of no tax deniers out there, right? As we see it, right? And they're like, well, Florida and Dallas, they still draft well. 100% agree. You still have to draft well. I'm not saying, but again, if you took the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres over 5 years and you made the same moves, right? Come year 5, when those guys need to be resigned, Gustav Forsling, how much he get? 5.7? Do you think he's taking 5.7 from the Sabres? Absolutely not. Reverse that number. That's 7.5. So now I've added another 1.8 to my cap. Barkov probably would require more. Reinhardt would probably be in the tens, 10 and a half, right? So again, that's 1.5 more. That's one more, right? That's where the advantage is. The advantage is to not to get the players in the draft. It's to maintain it and keep building it and to get better and to keep being able to add players. Like, is it amazing that they're saying Vegas may get Mitch Marner? What? Vegas gets players every
There's
year.
no way. There's no way. Number one, here's the thing: if Kevin Adams lets, I don't care who you bring in. You could bring in the next coming of Scotty Bowman. Like you could find a time machine and bring him back in. If they allow a team like Vegas to get Mitch Marner, like I get it. If he chooses that, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I get
They
it.
ultimately have to choose it too. So,
But
and again,
if
there
they
are things you could combat it. You could combat the tax. Montreal did it. Montreal signed their core to very nice contracts, similar to what Kevin Adams tried to do with Tage and Dylan Cousins. Now, it worked out for Tage, but it didn't work out for Dylan Cousins. So the margin for error is lower for the higher tax markets than it is the lower tax. So that's the advantage that we're talking about. Just because a team's in a low tax market doesn't mean you win cups. I mean, look at Nashville. They made some bad signings this year. They're no tax state, just like Florida, just like Vegas. What's going on there? Right. So it's not, you're right. Like if anybody says, well, it's all about, no, that's not what we're talking about. So anyway, enough on that sandbox. I could be on the sandbox for hours. Lack of defensive play is more of a team structure issue than personal play. I tend to agree with Real Deal on that. I do think there are some players that organizations do identify that bring that out best. I mean, Florida's a good example. They get Brad Marchand, right, in a trade, and you see how he seamlessly fit into what they're trying to do. There's certain other players that they brought in that have fit that mold. So doesn't mean we should go out and get Sam Bennett as an example, but I agree majority of what Real Deal is saying on that.
Yeah, I know that you had one other thing you wanted to touch on before we did get out of here. So I'm your Bandit Sabres.
Well, it's kind of funny because during the week I was thinking about, the Buffalo Bandits, great story, right? And you're from Western New York, Matt, and I get it. I get the intensity. I understand the excitement that I personally, for me, I don't have an attachment to the lacrosse league, but I don't disrespect them. It's a great sport. You know what I mean? It's a great accomplishment, the three-peat. But when you see that arena packed the way it is, Matt, right? And you see the Buffalo Bandit players going on the McAfee show, right? And all I could think to myself is, if I'm Terry Pagula and I'm watching that, how does that not trigger me about what the hell is going on with my hockey team? Because lacrosse, again, great sport, but not a big league. That place was hopping. It was sold out almost every night, right? It was, I saw the images, right? The fans, I mean, that place was like the Sabres in the playoffs. So it just reiterates,
Well, and here's
it's
the thing:
there, folks. It's,
how
and
do
I,
you
and if,
have
and if
how
I'm
do you
Pagula,
have
yeah,
hold on? How do
yeah.
you have 3 professional sports teams and 2 of them are like? How do you sit there and not be like, why is this other team not getting over the hump? Like, what is going on? Like, there should be
Yeah.
changes across the board. Like, and
Yeah. But again, with the attendance of the Sabres, and also you're seeing younger fans in Buffalo latch on to this great lacrosse team, right? U.S. kids in Buffalo are 23. Who's John Tavares? They're not going to say the guy that plays on Toronto and his rival Sabres. They're going to say the legendary coach and player who played in the lacrosse league. I'm not saying lacrosse is a problem. I'm saying that reflects that it's a problem that the Sabres have and they have to address it fast.
right.
Otherwise, we're going to have deeper conversations about this organization in general. And you know where I'm going with this, Matt. And I don't want to go there. But what I'm saying is, to me, I just hope that ignited Terry Pagula say, man,
So yeah,
I just got to get this back because it's
yeah.
there. Buffalo will come back the fans will come back in droves if they just become an excellent hockey team. You and I know it. We will have 18,000 a night again against the Wild in like Wednesday in December.
So I mean, it
Yeah,
comes down to it. Let
that's
me
true.
ask you this question,
Mm-hmm.
and Real Deal is right. Winning does change everything. Let me ask you this
Mm-hmm.
question though: is I just lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second here.
It's okay.
is the fact that Terry Pegula, is not making moves with the Buffalo Sabres. Does that kind of lead to him like kind of being pulled in different directions? Like how do you, I don't understand how you can sit there and just not make any of these.
Maybe he's been so wrapped up in the Bills with the Super Bowl run, the stadium. Maybe he's just been putting it on the back burner.
That's only an excuse for so long, though.
Yeah, but that's where he needs to hire like that president or person to run the show and say, I could be there in the press box taking the victory laps when the Sabres are 38-15 and leading the Atlantic Division. Like that's what he wants to do, right? Like he doesn't need to have a pulse on. And yeah, you know what? From your lips to the sports god's ears, Real Deal. Let's put that out in the universe today. I mean, yeah, we need that to happen. So especially the first one, that would be amazing. So, but we'll see. But yeah, it's just again, I just think from thinking at it as from anybody in Sabre organizations that say, wow. And again, I love the sport of lacrosse, but a lacrosse team in a league that their lacrosse website has 70,000 followers. Okay. The NHL has millions. Okay. I'm just saying when you have a sport that is starting to probably get more traction in your city than the NHL team, man, the alarms for me are just going. Right? Like, wow, like we got to get this together and we got to get together fast. Who knows? Maybe this sparked Terry Pegula. Maybe this off season, maybe those kind of things. I said, hey, I can't let this go on anymore. And we're seeing some signs of that now with the excellent hire they made today.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Friday edition of Hockey Hotline. You'll see us back on our normal time next Saturday when Brian finally gets home from his Delta flight.
No Delta flights. Thank you. Thanks, Real Deal, for coming in. And I apologize to anybody out there if you're coming in Saturday and you're looking for a normal time. We'll be back next week. So thank you, Matt.
We'll leave you with Real Deal Prime's thoughts. Imagine if we got McDavid not Eichel.
Good to be seen, Matt. Go Sabres. Have a great weekend, everyone.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Due Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Due Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Due Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, brother.